Hi there, guys. God bless each and every one of you today. Praying that this kind of like finds you well, wherever you are, whatever you're kind of like going through at the moment. Very interesting report coming out today. Got an article here, want to cover with you. Chemtrails Task Force, Bill Gates's sun dimming experiment is reducing lifespans by 20 years. Going to be also looking at another article coming out against the beast system's representative. Digital IDs are an effective tool, apparently, against poverty, says the Gates Foundation. And then lastly, just going to be quickly covering these latter two articles for you. Gates met with Trump to discuss the importance of US global health programs. No doubt he's been sent by the World Health Organization to try and get some funding and the like, or maybe perhaps he's a little bit annoyed that he's having to cough up so much of his own money in killing people. So we're going to be looking at that, but we are going to be looking at chemtrails today, guys. Yes, some of the things that they say aren't really over our head. Nothing to see in that particular regard. So I just want to cover what some of these actual chemtrails consist of. Well, whistleblowers and military doctors are saying that chemtrails contain barium salts, human plasma, microviruses, non-terrestrial nanosilicon machines, and poisonous aerosols. So that's really great and fantastic, isn't it? As we're all breathing in government prescribed drugs overhead, with or without your consent. You know, when we think about also the with or without your consent, the only word that I can liken that to is rape, and I'll just leave that there. Continuing with this, the chemtrails are not particularly sort of pleasant when it comes to what their main purpose and agenda is. It's a depopulation agenda. Guys, after this live, when we've covered some of what we're going to be covering today, I'm going to be putting in a community post, and there will be so many videos for you to be able to watch for yourself, to listen to the, you know, insiders, the whistleblowers, those that have actually grown a conscience and realize that this is absolutely monstrous what we're putting out to people. What also needs to be said at this particular point, guys, is that this is just indiscriminate killing. Okay, it's not necessarily partitioned or, you know, set aside for one people group or one age group or one country. This is over every single country. Interestingly as well, although it's never been reported in the mainstream media news, and you'll understand why when I finish my next sentence, the UK's sun dimming project over here is called, no joke, Satan. All right, and I'll put that video there for you to be able to see for yourself. So when people are sort of like I did a few months ago, I phoned up the police after I saw 3 civilian aircraft almost bumping into each other's wings, dipping over the tree to where I was and flying over my head. I reported them to the police, and the police was like, oh no, they're just jet fumes and all this sort of stuff. And I was violently sick. I had really awful sort of like sweats. I just burst out in that. I was then shivering, and I wasn't feeling in any way okay. And then all of a sudden it was like a lot of these planes have now changed their time that they end up doing this, and it's now being done at night because they're being far too busted. Too many people are asking some of the question, what gives with that overhead? We never had that 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And you see movies and other sort of like pictures and things to that degree, not half as much as what it is now. Are we literally the bugs that they want him to be spraying? Well, this is a depopulation agenda, guys. Chemtrail fallout in different countries has found the following chemicals present in it: aluminium oxide, barium salts. All of these are very, very detrimental to not only human beings, but this is also detrimental to wildlife. Okay, so even if there are eco-warrior tree huggers, surely y'all should be caring about this. This is all very detrimental also to nature and plants and agriculture and farming. Okay, so aluminium oxide, barium salts, arsenic, chromium, bacilli, and molds. Okay, this is why people are having so many chest infections and respiratory disorders from this. cadmium, which is basically lead. We've also got mercury in there, nickel, polymer fibers, radioactive cesium, and pseudomonas. Okay, these are just some of the basic content that we have placed in the chemtrail ingredient. Okay, I'll be putting in memes later in the description box for you to have a little look yourself. But according to an Italian blogger from 1996 until now, there has been an increase in chemical trails, also known as chemtrails, which many people know nothing about. These trails, unlike condensation trails, do not dissipate quickly into the atmosphere. And this is what I'm finding when I'm going on my prayer walks. You'll find different layers of where the clouds are. So I live in a valley, and obviously when I go for my prayer walks, I'm on top of that valley. So I see like the clouds, you know, it's like most of the clouds going across like that. But in between them, there will be a break in the clouds, and literally just like above them, there will be clouds, or it will look like clouds, but they're not. But they don't move. They just stay stationary over that particular place. So they're basically put beyond the sort of like normal cross current winds. Okay, as we're saying, they do not dissipate so quickly either. In addition, there is proof which confirms the presence of these harmful chemical elements in the trails. Some researchers have studied the composition and effect of this phenomenon, which may to us seem harmless and commonplace. Well, according to these experts, chemical trails are the result of experimental operations which have manifold purposes. The main objective, albeit unproven, range from the meteorological to the military. DARPA, HARPA. The analysis carried out the verified presence of the following elements in the chemtrails: barium, aluminium, radioactive thorium and cesium, copper, titanium, silicon, lithium, cobalt, lead, helium, dibromide, and several other pathogenic agents. Chemtrails can cause a condition called Morgellons syndrome. It is a disease which causes serious deterioration in the body. As well as this disease, chemtrails are associated with other illnesses such as tumors, Parkinson's disease, and cardiac dysfunctions. Okay, so when I'm sort of like, you know, stomping around on my prayer walks, I'm usually okay. And when I get to the top of the hill, I don't break out in much of a sweat. I'm just not a sweaty guy like that. My body cools really, really quickly. So I'm very used to sort of like that. But there's times when I'm literally walking like a few meters, and then all of a sudden I'm getting all this, and I'm feeling dizzy. And I have spent all of my life literally, you know, sort of walking, and I used to be an athlete, so I used to be a long distance runner. Okay, I never had any of these particular conditions that are being had now. And what's really going on with this is that this is another assault on farming and agriculture. You know, when you get individuals like Rainmaker, who's able to manipulate, you know, the weather, Mr. Augustus, you know, with Peter Thiel's funding and money when it comes to Texas. And then you get direct energy weapons as well that are also used against civilian populations and the like. It's a case of like literally trying to break us down into submission. This is just indiscriminate targeting of everybody, of all people, of all ages. So we've been saying, those that literally work for the beast system, are you being told at what times not to go outside and to be very careful? Are you walking around with completely and utterly sealed buildings with really great respiratories and oxygen that they're giving out to you? Are you also being told what food products and also what type of water and, you know, you should be drinking, because everything else has got mRNA and you're literally being poisoned, and everything is set against you and weaponizing all that they can against innocent civilians? None of this was done by consent. None of this was done with anybody's say so. So just some, you know, and I just want to say before I even read out some of what this guy had to say, RFK, he is now metamorphosized into controlled opposition. He started out so well, but really now, no, not so much. So I don't go listening to what this man has to say when he's like, oh yeah, vaccines, and then he sticks wearables, you know, which is the internet of body and the internet of things on every single American in the next couple of years. Sorry, man, I ain't buying you no more. But I do want to read out what has been done and been covered over the last sort of like 6 months to a year relating to this important issue of chemtrails. And again, you'll see how low views that we get as per our channel, because they steal lives from us. They mess with who is in here. So afterwards, I'll know that there'll be, say, 20, 30 people at some point, and then they'll turn around and say, you only get 2 views out of that. Okay, this is really important for everybody to know. And it's really astonishing that so many other channels do not discuss this, but we're gone on. All right, chemtrails pilot's daughter found decapitated days after he blew the whistle. The child of chemtrails whistleblowers are now in the crosshairs. They are stalked, threatened, and in at least one case found dead in their own bed. This isn't a rumor. This isn't internet gossip. This is what happens when you whistleblow. This is what happens when you speak out. So after I phoned up the police and had no success with my instance with civilian aircrafts that are literally doing this, it's not just military aircraft. I've had those over my head. I've had Hercules aircraft, literally, as I've been sat under a tree because it had been raining and I didn't want to get too wet because I was going to go for a really, really long walk. Okay, literally clipping the trees over my head. I've had it with other people that I've been out on walks with, and I've been praying with them. And I'm just like, you just wait until this aircraft comes out, and it will find us, and it will change its direction and aim right at us. And it has so much evidence relating to this. So I wasn't quite happy when the police weren't really willing to do anything about this. I think we're duty bound to report, hey, none of y'all see what we're seeing up over our head. Everybody's pretending that there's no elephant in the room, that we're not going to discuss this. So I was like, right, fine. I know exactly where that aircraft is coming from because I know my area really well. And I phoned up the airport and I said, a small civilian airport. I said, I know what you're flipping doing. And if you keep on, man, and I'll go out with my drones and I'll go out with all my kit and I'll get cammed up with all of my sort of like webcams, and I'll be able to, go and take some samples and whatnot, and I'll go and bounce to Exeter University and go and stick some of those underneath some microscopes and expose what it is that you're doing. The very next day, I'm out by my river and there's a guy literally sat by it, not taking any pictures of the river, but taking pictures of me. And I come walking right over to him and I'm like, do you mind? And I had my body cam on with me as well, and I had my knives on me that were legal, okay? Because I'm aware that I'm also sort of like being targeted. I'm being hunted. I'm being stalked, okay? And everything else is just very passive aggressive when it comes to, them trying to demonetize me and do everything else that's going on. I'm not here to bore you with that, okay? But this is what that was, positively IDing me. And that's fine, because we need to speak out about that, because I care when they're doing this during, lunch times, when you've got kids at school in the village that I'm in, you've got my children over the way that have their school, and let alone anybody else that's out and about breathing in these toxins. Do we also need to speak out about fogvid for Christmas time, when there was a complete and utter blanket of like smart chemicals? No one wants to talk about this stuff. And as watchmen and watchwomen, we have got to do a better job at reporting these atrocities, because it's like that. It's just like, well, if they're not going to make those phone calls and everything else, and then people aren't going to be making any complaint or kicking up a fuss, and hey, we'll just do more, and we'll do more, and we'll do more. We'll put it into the food, we'll put it into the water, oh, well, we've got away with that. Great. Let's put some of this mRNA into the hand creams and lotions and dental floss and whatnot. Oh, let's just reduce the price of fish and salmon that ordinarily is so expensive. But no, we're just going to jab them with mRNA and just, force vaccinate them without their consent. Do we also need to talk about videos pertaining to Aerovax, which is the aerosolized vaccine that they've got over Canada at the moment, wanting to, spray all of those guys? And that's what they're doing here as well. It's inconceivable. So here you go. RFK releases evidence most cancer is a fake disease caused by chemtrails. Bill Gates, and this is what is inconceivable. I mean, absolutely mind-blowingly inconceivable. Okay, the beast system's representative. Yeah, this monstrous individual, is worse than Joseph Mengele. He really is. Bill Gates granted powers to spray chemicals on 41 million Canadians. They told us all it was just a conspiracy theories, chemtrails. Well, forced vaccinations. These are the guys that also sort of like manipulate everything. Weather controlled biotech. Now it's official policy. Bill Gates has been granted emergency authorization to spray aerosolized mRNA over 41 million Canadians with no needles or anything attached. I'd like to go, whilst we're on Canada, actually, and show some respect to our Canadian brothers and our sisters. If you just bear with me, I hadn't planned on doing this. I hadn't brought this up. But I think this is really important when we're talking about, what's in these vaccines and what the government is really like doing all of this without your consent. Okay, want to take us to Marvel actress, okay, and Lost actress Evangeline Lilly, who has been cancelled by the woke mob for attending anti-vax mandate protests. I just want to read out what she has to say about these vaccines. She said, I was in DC this weekend to support bodily sovereignty, while Canadian truckers were rallying for their cross-country peaceful convoy in support of the same thing. She goes on to say, I believe nobody should ever be forced to inject their body with anything against their will, especially under threat of violent attacks, arrest or detention without trial, loss of employment, homelessness, starvation, loss of education and social interactions, alienation from loved ones, excommunication, talk about, John Wick, from society under any threat whatsoever. This is not safe. This is not the way. This is not healthy, and this is not love. I understand the world is in fear, but I don't believe that answering fear with force will fix our problems. Okay, that's what Evangeline Lilly had to say about these chemtrails. As a Canadian, having the courage and boldness to put her professional career on the line. Thankfully, she's also a Christian, and the Lord saw to it that she'd be, stuck into the, the latest Hobbit movies as well as Marvel and Ant and Wasp, whatever. So God really looked after her for being so brave and bold and speaking up and speaking out. Reports also confirmed chemtrails were used to trigger Lynmouth flood disaster in 1952. RFK vows to arrest Bill Gates for orchestrating devastating US floods via chemtrails. This is what we were talking about. You've got other watchwomen, I'm not going to say men, but other watchwomen coming out and saying, oh, no, this is all God, judging America. No, it's called sabotage, sweetheart. Okay, when you've got Augustus and Rainmaker literally doing this over Texas on the same day, and Bill Gates as well in the other area doing this on the same day, this was deliberate. Okay, but this absolute hysterical, sort of like to and fro against one another. Oh, we're going to arrest you. Oh, there's arrest warrants out for Bill Gates. Really? This boy was to be arrested like that and held up to account. But none of these perverts, none of these murderers are getting any justice, are they? No, because they serve the beast and they're protected by him, as is everybody else, which is why I have a problem with the security services. How is it that you've allowed our enemies, i.e. in Bill Gates' form, to have aerial supremacy over us? That's the first thing you do when you're waging a war and you fight somebody. You want aerial supremacy over that situation and over that people group. It's the first thing you do. It's the first thing you do. And apparently, Florida cracks down on chemtrails. Airports must report planes, pilots, and operations. And look what happens when you do. You end up having your head cut off. Isn't that quite prophetic? NASA document exposed secret chemtrails plot to cause apocalyptic natural disasters in 2025. Yeah, they're using that against you, are they now or not? Tell that to Maui when it comes to the fires and all the arsonists and everybody else that's doing that. We've got the evidence there to support that. Same thing going on, getting ready for the, World Cup with LA 26 and wanting smart cities, and the absolute joygasm that this Gavin Newsom whatever guy had as he was like saying, oh, we're going to build this and we're going to build that, getting his freak on. And do you know what I mean? LA is still burning and people are being burned alive. It's just a conspiracy, apparently. Marjorie Taylor Greene, God bless this woman. Chemtrails bill to criminalize weather modification. The evidence is undeniable. Chemtrails task force busts DARPA pilot to plot. I butchered it, my bad. So excited about reading out all of this and exposing the beast system, Chemtrails task force blasts DARPA plot to spray mRNA bioweapon across the United States. Thanks for that. Feeling it? Awesome. Florida becomes first state to ban chemtrails and jail perpetrators. Really? Who? Ain't seen that on the mainstream media, have we? No, never. Chemtrails task force exposes Bill Gates' weapons, but we're going to do nothing about it. And this was like 2 months ago. I'm reading out this article. Rare cancers surging in spray zones. So I mean, pesticiding humanity. Chemtrails pilot confesses on deathbed. Bit late, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? Bill Gates is planning an American Holocaust. Yeah, because he wants to sterilize everybody and give everyone sudden, adult deaths, cancers. Louisiana joins nationwide push to ban chemtrails as House passes landmark bill. It's not happening fast enough. These fools are still flying about. Louisiana to become first state to outlaw chemtrails. Well, again, come on there now, right? And then the poll, most of this is hilarious, right? It's just like, okay, I'm gonna keep my comment to myself because I ain't got nothing but love for America. But seriously, right? A poll, most Americans support laws banning chemtrails. You think, right? US bioweapons official testifies DARPA spraying chemicals to delete the God gene. All right, let's go into that. All right, you've heard of psychological warfare, you've heard of information warfare, but what if I told you the war being waged right now against you is spiritual? Well, according to a US bioweapons expert, DARPA, the Pentagon's shadowy research arm, has taken battlefield technology originally developed for use during the Iraq War and turned it inward. Exactly. What they do is they turn it against civilians, like Peter Thiel's doing now with his Palantir technology, which is why I can't make any movies anymore. Yeah. And then he's got this Gotham part to that as well, which is, targeted assassinations. So this isn't just about surveillance or mind control. This is about crushing the human soul. Through a combination of vaccines and aerosolized chemtrail deployment, DARPA and its partners are working to neutralize spiritual inclinations in the human population. Good luck with trying to contend with the Holy Spirit in us lot. All right, but their target, this is for those that aren't saved, so they're easy pickings, a specific gene, VMAT2, known by scientists as the God gene, believed to play a role in spiritual experiences, moral intuition, bye-bye, and divine connection. Okay, this video we've covered before. We're going to put that in the link there for you later, for you to get your laughing gear around. Okay, they aren't just after your body or your mind, they are after your soul. The divine spark that separates you from the machine, and they're not hiding it anymore. So what is the end game of deleting the God gene, and who really benefits from a world stripped of faith? Well, the putrid, insignificant, disgusting archangel, Lucifer. Stay with us, because what we're about to reveal might be the most disturbing truth of all. The history books, if they've ever been written honestly. No, well, we used to, but now we delete everything because we don't want people to know, right? We'll remember chemtrails as one of the most deceitful and damaging operations ever carried out by governments against their own people. Yeah. For years, they mocked us. They gaslit the public. They labeled the truth as a conspiracy theory. But now the veil is lifting. Yeah, it's called opening your eyes, blood. Their operations have become so blatant. Do you know what I mean? You're sort of like walking around like this, yeah? So desperate, because they are just needy Klingons, that denial is no longer an option for anyone paying attention. No, because we want the planet to ourselves. Think back to when you were a kid, drawing blue skies and fluffy clouds. Did you ever imagine you lived to see the sky carved into grids like a prison cell? Or I did Connect 4, because that's exactly what we're under. Atmospheric control right in plain sight. And that's what the beast system does, hides in plain sight. So ask yourself, where were you when it clicked? When you realized this wasn't a fringe theory, but a hard and painful truth they never wanted you to see? Well, For one farmer, the moment of clarity came when the skies above his land turned from blue to a chemical haze, which is what we're seeing with these clouds. And the fallout was devastating. His crops, once thriving, began to wither. The soil turned acidic. Then came the unthinkable. A 150-year-old tree on his property, trees that have survived generations of storms and droughts, were burned by chemical spray. We already know that the elite want to block out the sun and control the climate, because that's the whole climate lie is a lie, by the way. If you've not had that, well, please go and see our other videos. They've admitted this after years of denial and deception. What they once called a conspiracy theory, they now openly embrace as geoengineering for the greater good. Not. But it doesn't stop at climate manipulation. As dangerous as that is, it's just a service. All right, we're going to go to it. The Climate Lie is the Beast Systems GoFundMe project. All right, with trillions at his disposal. These people need to read the Bible, you know. 7 seals, 7 bowls, 7 trumpets, 2 witnesses. You know what I mean? God destroys earth, not man. Moving on. According to Robert F.K. Jr., the newly formed chemtrail task force, do you know what I mean, has identified DARPA, nice one, Sherlock, the Pentagon's black budget science arm, as a central player in covert, it's not covert, it's overt, aerosol operations over the United States and the rest of the planet. RFK is over the target. Oh, look out. Numerous high-level whistleblowers have confirmed DARPA as one of the key players in the operation. A former US bioweapons scientist has come forward. Do you know what I mean? A little bit of respect for some of these guys that do that. I'm a bit like, yeah, you shouldn't have done it anyway, but we do appreciate this sort of like slow reveal. Claiming that DARPA developed aerosol-based technologies for a variety of classified purposes. We'll tell that to the morticians. As one of these purposes is something the public has never been told before. And it's not about mind control, although that's part of it. Let me tell you that right now, it is. What's even more disturbing is about spiritual control. You know, we think about the Prince of the Air. Come on then now. All right, you look at the CDC's logo with the chemtrails, you know. Let that sink in. Before we go deeper, okay, this is when things get really dark. A controversial but real research paper published on ResearchGate in 2023 revealed a Department of Defense funding program aimed at suppressing the VMAT2 gene, which some scientists have called the God gene. This is what they were literally doing in sort of like wanting to do in Iraq and in, you know, sort of like war-torn areas, to literally spray this stuff over people so that it would remove their will and desire to fight and any terrorist ideologies. So they were literally wanting to do that. And you'll see the videos if you go over to our community post after this live and tuck on in, you'll see those clips for yourself. Someone was very brave, yeah, and put this information out there and secretly recorded this in one of the presentations. And you know, this is what's happening all of the time. Yeah. A testimony by a US bioweapons scientist cited in the research outlined a DARPA program designed to do the unthinkable, erase humanity's connection to the divine. Through vaccines and aerosolized chemical deployment, DARPA, allied agencies, and the Gates Foundation have been working on a technology aimed at neutralizing spiritual inclinations, targeting the so-called God gene VMAT2. The goal, well, not public anymore, not disease prevention. The real objective is spiritual warfare. According to insiders, this is the hidden agenda behind the global vaccination push to eliminate religious conviction. Do you see why also they're trying to change the DNA in the vaccines? Yeah, and make that so beastly and ghastly. Trying to see this emergence in the transhumanism with the biology and the digital and the technology all together, distorting the beautiful image of God and metamorphosizing that into the image of the beast. They also want to break the human connection to the divine and pave the way for a one world government, a technocratic regime where man plays God and the soul is obsolete. Well, It might sound wild, but it aligns precisely with what spiritual visionaries warned us over a century ago. God bless this dude. Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian mystic and philosopher, prophesied that one day medicines would be used to sever the soul from the body, to destroy the spiritual essence of humanity under the guise of health. This is what this particular video that I will put in there for you and your attention later in the post is what took down our 6th channel. Because the evidence is so overwhelming and somewhat damning. This is not just medical overreach. This is a global coup against humanity and against God. Didn't expect to read this article out in the depth that we have, but I think it's important. The architects of this plan, the so-called elite, have openly declared their intentions to kill God. Good luck with that. Declare him dead and crown themselves as gods. We are going to be coming back, right? Can't wait for it. When we do go, we go. All right, we're going to be coming back and we're going to be knocking down bunker doors and, do you know what I mean, walking in the mountains, and they're going to have their security systems and they're just going to be emptying clips at us. We're just going to be stood there laughing. We'll put their sort of like immortality to the test. I'm telling you right now. Can't wait. That's just, happy day. Klaus Schwab, Yuval Harari, Gates, listen carefully to their own words. They're not hiding it anymore. They call humanity hackable animals. They say free will is over. They mock faith while working behind the scenes to destroy humanity's ability to engage with the spiritual world. And now they're fulfilling ancient biblical prophecies, attempting to place an abomination in the third temple. But the third temple in this context isn't in Jerusalem. The Apostle Paul warned of this in 2 Thessalonians, of a time when man would exalt himself as God, sitting in the temple of God, showing himself to be God. And this deception, he said, would come with signs and lying wonders. We are now living in that time, and according to Gates Foundation Insider, the elite have not finished with us yet. They have big plans to accelerate the agenda before we have a chance to rise up against them. We have the details around this. So if you look around, people are lost. They are spiritually hollowed out, disconnected from anything real. The divine spark that once guided humanity is now flickering and it is fading. Why? Because this isn't just cultural decay, it's coordinated, engineered, and a spiritual attack from all angles, including the sky. For years, they called it a conspiracy theory. Now they are admitting it. The skies are being sprayed. Chemtrails, geoengineering, solar radiation management, call it what you want. But it's not just about the weather, and it never really was. This is psychological warfare on a planetary scale, spraying the skies with neural inhibitors, spiritual anesthetics, and blocking the sun, blocking the soul. And the results are everywhere. A society drowning in confusion, a generation incapable of stillness, wonder, or prayer. Instead, we get escapism, we get fantasy, we get OnlyFans, the digital altar of this new religion of loneliness and spiritual poverty. It was marked as empowerment. But in reality, it's the end game of a decades-long plan to sever people from each other and from God. Girls sell fantasies, men rent illusions, and behind it all, the same elite networks run the show. But the sickness runs deeper. Those flirty DMs aren't even the girls anymore. They're outsourced, handled by offshore call centers. Desperate workers in place like India, pretending to be Emma or Lily, sexting American men 24/7 to pay their bills. Olivia is actually Ramesh in Bangalore, doing dick ratings to make rent. Not apologizing for that, man, because this is what sick things go on. It's not connection, it's algorithmic loneliness, AI-driven lust loops, a ritual of emptiness. So now you have lonely, broke men in America who can't pay rent but cash out blondes in Tennessee because they're into Findom. It's kink now, financial self-destruction dressed up as pleasure. This is what happens when a population is spiritually blinded, when the pineal gland is clouded, when intuition is chemically numbed, when the heavens are choked out by a haze of metal and deception. It's a spiritual war, and the weapons are in the air, in your phone, and in your bloodstream. Most people don't see it, and sadly, most people don't want to see it. But the truth is, they are trying to kill God inside of you. And according to Gates Foundation Whistleblower, the elite believe they are almost there. So she's right. Just look up. That's all it takes. And that's exactly what more and more people around the world are finally doing. Eyes to the sky, tired, angry, awake, no longer buying the lies, no longer shrugging it off. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced plans to appoint a chemical czar to lead a new chemtrails task force and hold the perpetrators accountable. Lol. This is just a start. But in these critical times, we can't afford empty promises. They must be held to account from the top down, because this isn't just negligence. It's calculated, it's coordinated, and it is criminal. The punishment must fit the crime. We're talking about crimes against humanity on a global scale. It's time for Nuremberg 2.0. And I would concur with that. So let's have a little look-see at what's been happening pertaining to this article. Chemtrails Task Force, Bill Gates' some dimming experiment is reducing lifespans by 20 years. But let's see who the Lord's brought in. Hi there, Ashley. Thank you for being here, sister, looking after us. Hi, Stephen. Good morning, mate. Yeah, Stephen going, yeah, woohoo, I'm number 2. Mine, there's only 2 here, lol. This is how it is for us, all right? Okay, they steal our views. You know, we are shadow banned, we are blacklisted, we have AI and algorithms against us, and we also have, you know, sort of like tubby fat knackers behind the screen running interference as well. Do you know what I mean? By these information warriors that Bill Gates has all got out against us. So it's not. We do have some really kind people that do share our sort of videos and our work, and God bless them for doing that. It's really awesome. But outside of that, you know, we've sort of like, we fight solo over it. And I'm aware that most of my American brothers and sisters are still sort of like staring at their eyelids. Hi there, Trent. Good to see you. Yeah, it is better than none. Do you know what I mean? More people need to hear about what this evil bill has done and is trying to do. Absolutely. So many videos out that we've done just in the last 3 to 4 weeks that we've been back. Just look at the amount in the community post. Hi there, Alison. Good morning. Bless you. Yeah, as a believer in Jesus, I have never voted. I ain't gonna vote no more. I'm done with that. Yeah, my vote is for the Lord. Absolutely, amen. Yeah, Sherry's saying she doesn't anymore. Hi, Nancy. I only hope Jesus, he is more wonderful and long-suffering than we can know, but his wrath will be poured soon on this wicked earth. Yeah, absolutely. Praying for loss. We can't wait until this, you know, all happens, that the Lord takes back that which is his. So many people consider the Lord to be an absentee landlord, and he's not. He is, as Nancy said, long-suffering, wanting none to perish, holding back his wrath and his anger. And it's just so discouraging to see what man wants to do to the earth. I'm not an eco warrior tree hugger, man. I'm telling you, my one of my number one hates, apart from, you know, abusing children in that particular way, is the climate lie, which can't stand all of that. But we were entrusted with this creation as well, to look after it, not start worshipping it and sit in a religion around it, come by yarring and hugging trees and whatnot. But no, we were told to look after this. And the earth is the Lord's and everything in it. How beautiful and magnificent it's going to be when he takes control in governance and rules with a rod of iron, brings these individuals to justice, and we will be dragging them out of their caves, them weeping and them sobbing and their gnashing of teeth as we put them on mute so we don't hear their profanity coming out of their mouth. And we drag them to the Lord and his justice, and he ends up telling us what to do with them. Can't wait for that day. I'm just like, that's it. You know, that's all I want to do is just like get raptured, go up on the clouds, meet the Lord, have a wonderful banquet, and then I want to come back down and start a fight. That's what I want to do. You know, you do what you got to do for the next 7 years, guys. I know that's what I want to be doing. Yeah, Nancy said it was new to me when my husband told me the Lord will destroy those who destroy the earth. Sorry, it's in Revelation, not no reference. This is it: the 7 seals, 7 bowls, and 7 trumpets as well. This is what happens, you know. And they've got the 2 witnesses. God destroys the earth, not man. It's got nothing to do with man at all. It's God's judgment, and He will rule and reign. But beforehand, He will judge the earth with fire and purify it. Level mountains, take out islands. So Lord, so you get these popes and plops or whatever that are literally sort of like reinforcing this climate lie. It's like, you kidding me? You're reinforcing such a godless lie here. And then anybody else who ends up recycling that lie is equally like, you know, a liar themselves. It doesn't bode well for those that go lying. Hi there, Stephen. Bless you. I'm new to this channel. Welcome to you. We keep things really open here, really honest here. We have some great moderators, a great team here. Yeah, okay, I'll read that one out. I like how eloquent Dan is, all for the king. If I disagree with anything, I will say no. No disagreement. Yeah. Joygasm, real news. Yeah, exactly. It's part of that. That's what these guys get off on, isn't it? They're perverts. And these are the real criminals. They're the ones that want to sort of like spy on us through our devices, turn on our webcam. They want to turn on our sort of like, you know, microphones and everything else and spy upon us and be perverted in that particular regard. They're the ones that want to track and surveil us with all of the, you know, CCTV. They're the ones that are breaching all of our sort of like human rights. These guys are the real criminals, those in government, criminals, security services, criminals, police force, criminals. What are they doing about the spraying overhead? Nothing. What are they doing about the weaponization of the food and the mRNA and the poisoning that we're having? Nothing. Are they going around doctors' surgeries and start taking some of these vials and heating them up and seeing what's in them? No. They ain't doing nothing. Are they taking soil samples and the like to find out what's actually in this chemical? Are they asking any of this? No, serve the beast. All of one mind, as we read in Revelation 17:13, to give their power to the beast. It's why everyone's so collective, because the climate lie was invented by the Club of Rome. These guys also came up with the depopulation agenda, which is what this particular article is all pertaining to. They also came up, nicking it from the prophet Daniel, the 10 kingdoms at the end times, with Trump having Canada and also Greenland and the UK rejoining Brexit. Look what we're seeing. These guys, the Club of Rome, are the ones that are really in control, and amongst others as well. Yeah, I don't mince words, and I don't. I'm sorry, I'm not bigging up myself, but I don't mess about. I'm not a sort of like, you know, gooey wooey fooly sort of like watchman. I'm a watchman. I take that title so anally serious. I do, because we go by a verse here on our channel, and that's Ephesians 5:11. Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, rather expose them. That's what we're called to do. Anybody wants to put that title before or after their name, best act like it. Don't pick and mix when it comes to having editorial control over what it is that you report. Because I know most of the watchmen that are around, and they'll go and get some of their resources from some of the places that I'll go and have a little look for, like Rapture Ready. And I know that they won't be talking about the COVID vaccines. I know they won't be addressing some of those things because they want to keep their little squirrel bowls, you know, that they've hoarded, their nest eggs. They don't want to lose anything. We've lost about a dozen channels over the last 8 years because we're not going to stay silent. And part of our ministry here, and you can ask our Sherry, ask our Cher, and the rest of the team as well, what it is that we're about, because we have an opportunity right here, right now, to speak up really boldly and bravely against this beast system. Because our brothers and our sisters and our family and our kin that aren't believers will more often than not be against this beast system, and it'll be taking their lives. Well, we want to show that we weren't avoidant. We want to show that we weren't cowardly, that we led by example, and we stood up and we said no, as per a watchman, Ezekiel 33, should do. and report and sound the alarm. And we're saying there was only 2 people here, and there's now 14 people here. It don't matter to me none, because Jesus is more concerned with my personal obedience and ours as a team, and our faithfulness, our persistence, and our dedication, and our devotion, and our loyalty, than he is about our football. He is about anything else that we can do in that regard. And when we're talking about Ezekiel, we have to go back to Ezekiel 2, where Ezekiel, as he was called as well, he was told 3 times, speak, whether they listen or they don't. The Lord knew that he would be having these guys, set against him. He knew that the Israelites would be sort of like reluctant because they were rebellious. But that wasn't the point. He was still sent out, and we are still also sent out here. So it's not sort of like praising me or the team in that way. This is our remits. And if anybody else doesn't want to look at some of this stuff, that's up to them. They want to have their tens and tens and tens of thousands of views and subs. That's up to them. I'm telling you right now, they ain't going to be getting any more of a blessing or reward from our sharing and the rest of our team here. What does God say? As for the what they're now, he hates cowards. So there's a few people. Give Bro Cheats TOL a shout out here with some kindness and respect, because he took a risk by promoting our video on his channel. He could have got, a little bit of flack or heat from the enemy. Oh, right, great. Cheech is sort of like, supportive of this, whatever, and started using that and maybe setting his videos and burying his work, maybe targeting him. So he took great courage in actually doing that. That's really great. I really respect it. He's also shown bravery when it comes to some of the other things that he's addressed. Most recently, when it came to, Pope Leo and his LGBTQ alphabet people love. It's really important. I really do respect that. Very grateful, as we are here at Channel. But ordinarily, my peers turn a blind eye. That's why we I'm going to say nothing else. Hi there. Yeah. Do we believe in pre-tribulation rapture of the bride? Yes, we do. Absolutely. We're pre-trib here. Okay. We are saved by grace through faith. Okay. I hate the term OSAS, once saved, always saved. I hate it. But we are eternally secure. Sounds arrogant to me in my head. Hi, Mian. This may account for the numbers being low. It's not, because we're buried, because the B system doesn't want that. If you want to sort of like, get fruit bowls and whatever, then you do something that the B system and the B system's guidelines and rules says that you can do. But you speak out against it, all right? You can expect your work to be buried. Don't expect it to be supported. That's the whole deal. So what we've been saying is reverse psychology. Is the videos that really at this particular juncture in time with the least amount of views that you need to be watching, not the crowd hoggers that know how to tickle people's ears and tell them stuff. But are they telling them that there's all of this spraying poison overhead? Do they love their audiences that much to tell them and take a hit for them? Do they love the Lord enough to get a bit muddy and mucky or whatever? Do they talk about all of the mRNA that's in the food? They put that into the water as well, and all these other lotions. They talk about the COVID vaccine that's still being rolled out against against everybody at the moment. They talk about those things. They take on the alphabet people and the chemtrails and all the weaponizing that's going on. No, not really. Or do they just hide behind Israel and abuse her for her fruit, but don't really want to talk about how much sort of like pedophilia and the sex crimes that are really going on over in Israel? Nor talk about, individuals like Benjamin Netanyahu and how sinister and evil that man actually really is. We stand by Israel, but not when she does those monstrosities. So it's got nothing to do with that, friend. It's because we love Jesus and we serve him unreservedly. Not going to be brown nosing or bending over for the beast system now or ever. Nancy's saying here, yes, Brother Dan, we've been consistent here on YouTube. This is not like just coming out of it like a last little push to the end. We've been doing this since day one for 8 years now. Six channels on YouTube, all taken down. We've had the same amount and lifetime bans on other social media platforms since then. And we used to do loads of lives and do loads of other videos. And then all of a sudden they had a kill switch and just killed our live. And God says, Dan, leave. So I went to Telegram. That all got completely infiltrated. Okay, I was being, you know, sort of like someone was posing as me. It wasn't a safe space for people, and I just had enough of it. Had enough of it messing with my peace. Every day they'd steal loads of views, they'd steal loads of subs, and they're doing the same thing here now on YouTube. And God told me to come back. And now with the online safety bill, I can't literally make a video because it won't be taken. It won't literally be taken. It won't be uploaded, can't be saved, I can't import, I can't export. And I've been doing this for 8 years and I've never had a problem. But the second that online bill comes, that's it. And then I'm trying to upload to Rumble, and Rumble's like, excuse me, we're not taking this. Won't even take it and upload it. So I can't even do that. The only thing I can do is a live. And it's by the grace of God that someone hasn't kill switched us just yet, or given us a strike over what it is that we've covered. And believe you me, we've been given a slap for far, far less. And that's what worries me. Yeah, Sherry's saying, yeah, we were out here for a while, but just came back a little bit ago. Yeah, but we haven't been idle. We haven't been dormant. That's why there's 900 videos when there was only about 20, okay, a year and a half ago on Rumble. And now look what God's having me do. Now I can't make videos. All of that hard work over the last year and a half is all paying off when I'm putting that into the community posts, supporting the live that we end up having in the discussion at. So you guys get fellowship, you guys get to have that, but then we're also able to back it up with what other people have said on how it is that we as a channel actually make our videos. We don't care about copyright. If it's there, it's on the internet, I'll go and find it, and it's all fair game. Yeah, and a shout out to our Sherry, because our Sherry, she goes modding for other people, modding on her day off. We've got other team members as well that support us. It's not a one-man show. Anyway, let's leave that. I'll come back to you guys a little bit later. I want to get into this bad boy here. Chemtrails task force, Bill Gates' sun dimming experiment is reducing lifespans by 20 years. Are you getting more headaches? Feeling drained, no matter how much you sleep? Does the air itself feel thinner, weaker, less alive? Well, you're not imagining it. This is why I've got a constant chest infection. I don't drink, I don't smoke or whatever, but boy, can I not shake this sort of like, you know, whatever's going on. So anyway, the numbers prove it. Ever since Bill Gates and his elite backers began dimming the sun with stratospheric aerosol injections, or aerovacs for short, our skies have been poisoned. They told us it was about cooling the planet. As per usual, because they served the father of lies, they lied. Because sun dimming doesn't just block the light, it strips away the very breath of life itself, carbon dioxide. The gas that feeds every plant, every crop, every tree. Without it, there is no food. Without it, there is no future. And now, according to RFK's Chemical Task Force, levels are plunging into the red zone. Plants are starving. The biosphere is collapsing, and humanity is being pushed into slow suffocation while the media cheers this disaster as a success story. Got videos also coming out around bees and the destruction and death of those. And they promised salvation, didn't they? Well, what they delivered is apocalypse. And unless we stop them now, unless we tear the mask off this global experiment, the stakes couldn't be higher, because it isn't just the planet on the brink of extinction, it's us. RFK Jr.'s Chemtrail Task Force has asked us to remind you, keep posting. Every photo, every video, every post matters. The geotag content is being used right now to map the networks, to track the perpetrators, and to build the cases for prosecution. And this is what we want to get into here as well. When the Lord says, for the sake of the elite, those days are shortened, I don't think it's just pertaining to it being bookended as being 7 years. It's also the years before that. Because if we were to be waiting for another 5 years or another few more years, there won't be no one left alive. With what these guys have been able to do through vaccines, pandemics, wars, chemicals, weaponizing everything against us, there would be nothing left for the Lord to sort of like have in his reign and his rule and in the millennium year or years. Let alone all of those that get absolutely wasted when it comes to the Battle of Armageddon. Some 200 million up to here, blood high. Wow. This is not the time to go quiet. We need to overwhelm the gatekeepers with sheer numbers, millions of voices, millions of eyes in the sky. And some places it's working. The cracks are showing. The cover up is unraveling as we speak. Always remember, there is nothing normal about what's happening above your heads. We are all being subjected, every man, woman, and child, to the poisoning of our air, our water, our food, and our soil. This is an indiscriminate murder. It's not just the Jews or a people group over in China or a particular religion or faith. This is absolutely everybody. And those that serve the beast system and sit across the other side of this camera, just waiting just to click us all off. This means your loved ones, your family, and yourself too. Unless you're given a completely different time to go out and eat and drink and, you know what I mean? Different soil. I very much doubt it. You're being weaponized as well. Another clear sign we're hitting a nerve is that NASA is scrambling. They've been forced to roll out cover stories, fabricated alternative narratives to explain away what's really happening in our skies. That's not science. That's damage control. So you just wait until they start putting their, sort of like fact-checking things on our platform. CIA basically trying to control and manipulate the narrative to be persuasive in that way, as if I'm not telling you the truth. Well, I read out what goes on, and then I'll show you videos where I put that together where everyone else is saying it. Beyond contestation, we expose. And why? Because they know we're on to them. They know that we know the truth. The active dispersal of aluminium, barium, lithium, strontium, and smart dust, fogvid, pumped into our atmosphere in industrial doses. These are not trace amounts. This is mass scale poisoning, targeting every living thing on Earth. Now, as RFK Jr.'s chemtrail task force has revealed, carbon dioxide is being stripped from the atmosphere at rates unprecedented in Earth's history. It's like just sticking us into some gas chamber, is it not? Death by lethal injection as well, is it not? For decades, the climate cult demonized CO2 as a pollutant. Yeah, we're the carbon that they want to reduce. The evil gas behind global warming. Really? Hilarious. But the truth is simple. Carbon dioxide is plant food. It sustains forests, fields, and the crops that feed us. In recent centuries, we've been living through a rare green period with plants and trees thriving worldwide. Probably because they're not underneath a flight path. But fast forward to today, and the picture has slipped. Never before has atmospheric CO2 plunged this low. For most of geological time, levels hovered around 20%. And now, brace yourself, we've been driven down to just 0.4% from 20%. That's our CO2. And here's the kicker. The collapse accelerated precisely when the sun dimming experiments were launched. Coincidence? Not a chance. We need vitamin D, man. We need vitamin C. Are you feeling lightheaded? Struggling with headaches, fatigue, and brain fog? These are exactly the symptoms you'd expect at dangerously low CO2 levels. And that's before we even mention the toxic metals, aluminium, barium, strontium, now circulating through our skies in industrial doses. Make no mistake, this is not climate protection. This is deliberate assault. It's called sabotage. Sabotage on the atmosphere, on the natural world, and on every one of us. And if we fail to stop it or we remain silent, the consequences will be nothing short of catastrophic, as Professor Ian Plimer warns. Bill Gates's climate cult has weaponized global warming hysteria to justify a flood of destructive policies, eroding national sovereignty, lowering our standard of living, and paving the way for even more humiliations and restrictions on our freedom. Dimming the sun itself should be the breaking point, the final straw. Are we really going to sit back and allow a tiny elite to shut down the source of all life on Earth? Well, we do when we don't address this, when we don't speak it out. We say that, you know, we're participating, are we not? If we're not standing up against it, what's that old thing says? You know, the only thing for evil to triumph is for good people to say and do nothing. And God's watching. All of this was built on a lie that crumbles the moment you look at the actual evidence. Imagine a world stripped of its breath. No crops, no trees, no life-giving air. That's not a distant dystopia. That's Bill Gates' dream, and the road we're on right now as carbon dioxide is being deliberately sucked out of the atmosphere. The Chemtrails Task Force has uncovered the horrifying details of Bill Gates' plan to engineer this collapse, using sun-dimming aerosols and atmospheric manipulation to choke nature itself. It's just monstrous what these individuals literally do to us. This is how much they love, and you know what I mean? And for me, I'm just going to say, I hope and I pray that all of these monsters survive the tribulation, that they go through every single moment of it, every bit of it. And then they have to deal with us because the bride keeps score. So want to say so many things, but I can't. Let's go back to this. This isn't about cooling the planet. This is about control. And if it isn't stopped, the earth will be left gasping, and so will we. They want you to believe this sun-dimming scheme is some brand new cutting-edge response to climate change. A bold experiment born of urgent necessity. But that's just a cover story. The truth, this plan has been on the table for decades, rooted in the twisted ideology of the elite and their occult obsession with controlling nature itself. Whoever controls the water, whoever controls the food, controls the people, guys. We've uncovered evidence that proves it. One example, a German report broadcast nearly 20 years ago, spelling out in plain language the exact techniques now being deployed in the skies above us. In other words, this isn't improvisation, it's execution of a plan in the making. According to a Chemtrails Task Force insider, what we're dealing with isn't an experiment gone wrong. It's a carefully engineered assault on the very foundations of life on Earth, the Prince of the Air. This isn't speculation. It's coming from someone who was personally recruited by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to dig into the data, track the chemical fallout, and expose the truth. It ain't happening fast enough, because they're still in the skies. I'd love to be sat there with some, do you know what I mean, some rockets and whatnot, and sort of like, you know, find out what numbers are on there and just turn around and say, okay, fair enough, that's not a civilian aircraft, that's not military, and that's not anything else. Okay, that's an unknown, you know what I mean, UFO sort of a thing. I'd blow it out the sky personally and ask questions later. Multiple whistleblowers, many of whom died under suspicious circumstances or were conveniently removed from power, like Romania's rightful president election winner last year, have been sounding the alarm about the elite's true agenda. So this is what happens. You tell people in Japan about what's in these mRNA vaccines, and what they do, assassinate him. And here you've got Romania's rightful president election talking about chemtrails. No, sorry, you didn't win the election after all. Their message is chillingly consistent. By 2029, here you go, they want 7 out of every 8 people on this planet gone. Now you know why abortion is also so on the upper rise and everything of that sort, isn't it? That would leave just about 1 billion survivors. And then they destroy the Georgia Guidestone, you know, whatever. Destroy those. Mission accomplished with the vaccine. 5.65 billion people were stupid enough to roll up their sleeve. Let alone what they eat, let alone what they drink, let alone what they rub on their hands and use as dental floss, let alone what they breathe as well. Everything being weaponized against people. The people calls the golden billion. The people Putin calls the golden billion. Here's the kicker. The New World Order agenda lines up perfectly with the United Nations Agenda 2030. You can just check their own website right now. On the surface, it sounds noble: end poverty, achieve gender equality, bring peace and justice. But read between the lines, and it's nothing more than a polite disguise for mass depopulation reduction, the euphemism they call sustainability. And then you've got Ursula von der Leyen literally blowing the trumpet on the Club of Rome's, limits to growth. They're all going by. Then you get, WEF women, that little woman who sits there saying, yeah, I quite like to, if I could just kill everybody off without any pain, that'd be great. Then you've got some other dude with a turban on his head turning around, people want more people on the planet. I want less people on the planet. They're not shy about this. Then you go to the Bilderbergs and you've got Peter Thiels, and on the agenda there is depopulation. This is the Club of Rome's, brainchild. And then, Klaus Schwab is like, oh, yeah, we were the ones that gave, the WEF, we were the ones that gave the Club of Rome their great platform. Now look at what they've done. Depopulation, tick. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Dividing the world up into 10 kingdoms. Well, we were nearly there, stealing it from the prophet Daniel. And you know what I mean? The climate lie, yeah, well, everyone believes in that, because that's what they came out, is to fob everybody off to be commonly, on the same sort of a page as they did all this. So it's an insult to God. Really is, these lies. So do we need more proof? Well, as we said, look at the Georgia Guidestone. No one knows who built them or why. Aliens? I doubt it. A secret society? Yeah, A government project? Yeah, it's either going to be the Club of Rome, the Bilderbergs, or the Committee of 300, or the Skull and Bones, or the Illuminati, or the Freemasons. Take a pick. It's going to be one of those guys. Just like nobody knows who destroyed them or why. Because it was, well, everybody knows it was mission accomplished. The mystery remains, but the message carved in stone is crystal clear. Maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. And then you got Klaus Schwab's book. Please see our community post as well, when he's saying that this billion will be, 500 million of that will be the Chinese and the Japanese, because they're compliant and submissive. It's the same thing, the same code words. Population control dressed up as balance and harmony. Wasn't there some monstrous, female who's running for, was Kamala Harris? Is that what her name is? Coming out that when we get population control, you know what I mean? It's just like, I can't stand these people. That's why I want them to survive the trip, so they can go through every bit of the horror. So how do they get us here? The answer is already above our heads. Chemtrails, sun dimming, stratospheric aerosol injections. We were told it's about cooling the earth, saving us from climate collapse. Oh no. But the reality is much darker. Those trails in the sky aren't just reflecting light, they're altering the chemistry of the atmosphere itself. The biggest lie of all, carbon dioxide, they demonize it as pollution. We need that oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and water vapor to breathe. And look what they're wanting to take out. They demonize it as pollution, when in truth, it's the lifeblood of the plants and the foundation of all food chains. They're deliberately stripping CO2 from the air, suffocating plants, collapsing ecosystems, and slowly starving us out. It's called the slow boil, the slow reveal. And I know that when I'm foraging for my pets, and I'm going out there and I'm grabbing grass out of it, and it's coming out from the root. It's so loose. The soil has been destroyed. And while they choke off the planet's breath, they lace the sky with aluminium, barium, strontium, heavy metals, raining down on our soil, raining down on our water, raining down on our bodies. Headaches, fatigue, neurological decline, immune system collapsing. This is not accidental. It's a slow motion extermination, a controlled culling disguised as science. Still think it's a coincidence? Remember the words of the so-called visionaries. Bill Gates in his 2010 TED Talk, here you go. If we do a really good job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we can lower that population growth by perhaps 10 to 15%. the Club of Rome in 1972. All right, this is these monsters that run the place. All right, the earth has cancer, and the cancer is man. Wow. Prince Philip. In the event that I am reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus to contribute something to solve overpopulation. This world is not overpopulated, please. David Attenborough. Yes. All our environmental problems become easier to solve with fewer people, and harder and ultimately impossible to solve with ever more people. How can this guy, this sort of thing baffles me, man. How can this guy not see the creation as God designed and created it and not fall in his face and worship God? Now you know who he serves. The list is endless. Different eras, same plan. And here's the brutal truth. If we do nothing, if we continue to obey and be distracted ourselves and laughing it all off as a conspiracy, then the outcome is sealed. We are marching headfirst into the greatest culling humanity has ever known. This is the line in the sand. Either we wake up and resist, or we let them turn the entire planet into a slaughterhouse. The choice isn't for our grandchildren, it's for the next generation. It's for us right here, and it's for us right now. Okay. This is what we've got literally against us, guys. Now, I very much doubt that the enemy is going to take the kill count. But when you think about how many people were actually, lost in World War I and lost in World War II, the Bible didn't really give that much of a shout out for that. Although it did say, it did say in Matthew that there'll be kingdom against kingdom and wars and rumors of wars. But really, for the most part, not a lot is mentioned. This is why I'm really anxious about, I'm going to be really open with you now, guys. It's like, I really do hope that we leave on the Feast of Trumpets. I really do. I'm really anxious around us actually not going because of what these guys have got planned next. Because something in my spirit is saying, yeah, I believe that Jesus is coming. I have no idea when, but there is something really dark and sinister that's on its way as well. What these guys are hatching as they're letting things all go and letting all things slide, as they're also removing themselves from, the usual surveillance that I have in and around me and my life. How it is that we are even able to do this live with all that we have exposed as well. It's almost as if they know something that I don't. It's a case of, we'll get him soon, or this will happen soon, or maybe they are waiting for the 23rd to when we end up getting out of here. Maybe that's the case as well. I don't honestly know. But I just want to say something about that, if I can, very, very briefly, not to take anyone's hope or anything else away, but maybe just a little bit of understanding from others that might not be so in agreement with this. More often than not, we've had these high watches before. And in some cases, it's left to those that maybe haven't been so on board with that to pick up the pieces afterward. And I'm praying that that's not the case. I really don't want it to. I want to go out of here just as much as anybody else. I really, really do. And I'm hoping that this is all going to be, that with the 2,550 days from the, sort of like 23rd to the 15th of September 2032. I'm really, really hoping. I'm looking up with you. I'm longing for that, to be away from this, because this planet hasn't got anything for us that is for us anymore. Our spirits, our life, our worldview, everything doesn't match up no more. And we're the outcasts. We're the ones that are alienated. We're the ones that are ignored and hurt and marginalized. We're the ones that are ridiculed and mocked and scoffed. We're the ones that are mistreated, overlooked. Yeah. And it's going to get to a point real soon, guys, where we are going to become those, sheep that are going to be slaughtered. That the next thing left that they've got is, okay, they've tried to do everything they can with me, demonetize, try and ruin my life behind the scenes, try to do everything they can with not making me able to be, able to do videos. They've tried everything to silence me. Now they're doing all that they can to take away all of the things around that produce a hope and a future, as we read in Jeremiah 29:11. What's left for these guys to do but to take away freedoms, to take away further rights, to force the issue? And this is what's left for them. That's why I'm personally concerned that if we are here beyond the Feast of Trumpets this year, you're going to get a lot of Christians being locked up and being thrown in jail. They're not going to have any rights. They're going to be labelled something or other, which will mean that they have no legal representation. They'll be locked up, thrown away the key, Guantanamo Bay style, and that'll be it. That'll be you done. And with the online safety bill, as well as the online police and crime bill that's come in as well, they'll just have one person making a complaint to my local council. That council person's bought and paid off, and they turn around and sign me off to a court, and a judge takes a look and goes, yeah, lock him up. And that's it. I'm done. I got no right to freedom. I haven't got any right to protest at the moment. Look what they're doing to Brits over here at the moment. Battering them when they want to peacefully protest, using such violent methods against them. The paramilitary. It's awful. You've got, in the US, you've got boots on the ground over there as well. And you don't have any freedom to protest or freedom of speech anymore. It's not about saving children or protecting children. If that was so, then why are you offering them medical assistance in dying and euthanasia? Why are you pervertingly spying on them? Why are you messing up their gender and their identity and their sexuality with the alphabet people, telling me that you care about kids? No, you don't. All you want to do is lie and distract and deceive them and get them addicted to your pharmakeia or technology, the digital addiction. So I think that's just where I am with some of that. I'm really, really hoping. I'm hoping that we're not going to have that false hope. I'll be really honest with you and vulnerable with you guys here. I'm not speaking out against anything, just showing where I'm at with it. That really terrifies me. It terrifies me that we could be here for longer, and it worries me of what they're going to be doing next, because these guys have got pandemic preparedness exercises in place ready for this year over here in the UK, and it's called Operation Pegasus. And look what happened the last time they did this, event 101, whatever. Look what happened then. Bam, a pandemic. And then all of a sudden they've got what? Morgues and everything else all put up in football stadiums that we showed you the other day. Something This Way Comes. I think that was a video we titled it as. And then what? Forced vaccinations, boots on the ground, knocking on your door, proving your status. This was literally around the corner. Everything that we've experienced so far that was really drastic and terrible was a dress rehearsal for what comes next. These guys could be like, we're tired of waiting for the beast system to finally make his appearance. We're gonna give it another round and just finish everybody else off. That's what worries me, because that's what I really think that they're going to be doing if we are not out of here soon. And I'm hoping that the Father sees that as all taking shape and form, and that is his appointed time to take and remove us out of here. I'm really, really hoping. So there, I just wanted to leave that little bit there around what are these guys doing, because I keep my eye on what the beast system is doing. I keep an eye on my enemy, and it's very sort of ill-advised not to be keeping a mind's eye on your adversary. The Bible speaks about that, the enemy being roaming and roaring around, someone to deceive, someone to destroy. We know that there's no truth found in him because he's the father of lies. Speaks out of his very nature. And look at what these all guys do when they're not being forthcoming with products, content, what's in the food, the water, the air, the vaccines. Why? Because they don't want the truth to be known. And who is it that we as Christians serve? We serve Jesus Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. And whom the Son sets free is free indeed. And look at how manipulative, look how coercive and deviant and sinister these guys are that serve him. That low life of an archangel. Yes, the Deagle report here. Yeah, that was Mike Yeadham. Please go onto our Rumble account and see that when he was forecasting the limits to growth, as well as he was saying how they would be following this precedent. So I just want to read out some of your articles. Not articles, sorry, I'm tired. Comments, that's the one. Whew, how long we gone? Sorry. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate your comments and being supportive of us. Thank you. So I flipped. Okay, here we are. Yeah, Nancy, that's what we do. We will be going over some gospel verses in a moment. That's not my primary objective, guys. I'm saying that right now. Some people are like, it's not, man. Mine is to expose evil, is to wake people up to the reality of the world they find themselves in. And after they're awake and they've sort of had a bit of coffee, do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, then, and had a moment or two, then yeah, straight away to the Lord Jesus, who's the only one that can save them. But that's not my first objective here. But we do share the gospel. And in all of our videos that we make, we made a gospel sort of like, you know, movie sort of thing. Please help yourself to that. We put that together ourselves. It's not nicked from anyone else. That's authentic work. Thank you, Nancy. Yeah, God bless. Sounding the alarm, spreading the realities of this world and sharing the gospel. Stephen saying here, yes, Dan, we will be back on missions. We will be, no doubt. And this is what we've been saying. As hard as it is that we've been talking about paedophilia, the sex trafficking and the organ harvesting and all the rituals. Guys, just imagine what it's going to be like when we come back. Do you imagine what it's going to be like when we're gone, what these perverts are going to literally be up to and doing? And we will be rescuing those children. We will be taking them out. It's going to be, you know, we're going to have really clear remits. I know I will, from the Lord in terms of what it is that we do. You know, go and rescue those children. Okay, what about the perpetrators, Lord? Can I have a go at them? What's my command? What's my orders there? What's the rules of engagement, Lord? That's all I will want to know. But for the most part, we'll be loving on them and we'll be taking them away to safety. Some people might be counseling them. Some people might be, you know, there to like feed them and offer them other help or whatever. No doubt we'll be able to do, you know, so much of that ourselves by just, you know, praying for them and seeing the miracles of the Lord as well. But yeah, we're going to be coming back and getting rid of all of these things, all of this awful digital public infrastructure. We're going to be taking it all down with big smiles on our faces as we do superhero landings on their HQs. I know I will be. Yeah, Steve was saying, yeah, I heard about sunflowers getting confused and facing away from the sun. Nancy saying, oh Lord, I cry out for the broken, those genuinely hopeless and despairing. Oh Lord, send your word and save millions of souls. Absolutely. And for some, it's not like that, is it? They're going to need to sort of like, you know, go by it with what they see. They can't walk by faith. They have to go by sight. But maybe when they do go by sight, they'll end up having the faith. It's a shame. But God also hardens hearts sometimes, and he's got plans for them. That's what's difficult for us when we're praying so relentlessly and putting so much into that. I know that's the case for me. Several days praying for my loved ones and them being lost, you know, 3-4 times a day. I'm like, sound like a scratch record. I really do. But that's it. It's putting those seeds out and letting God take care of it, just like he did with me. And he came after me and pursued me. No doubt he's got great plans for them as well. Yeah, Stephen's saying, yeah, it was Bro Cheeps who directed me here. He's done that a few times for us as a channel. He really has been very kind and very gracious to us. And so that's never, ever forgotten. And I can tell you this right now, the title of coward does not belong on his shoulders, because he's prepared to take some hits for us. And I've seen a lot of Jesus in him and that. And there's been a few others, Watchmen, Prophetic Watchmen 88, Peter and Laurie. They've also put some very gracious things out there for us. God's Lamb Down Under and a few others as well. And in some cases, there's other people I need to say that I steer away from deliberately, because I don't want them having, you know, their ministries being tarnished also by me, by mere association. That's sadly where we're at right now. Hi there, daughter of Ishka. Hi, Gigi. Hi, bless you. Brother Dan, are you concerned to be edited on this channel or shut down? What is your option on why YouTube is only allowing things they shut down? I don't honestly know. We've got a backup channel, which would be our 7th or 8th channel. Straight away, Ashley puts it up. I don't honestly know. I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the beast system. I'm not worried about these guidelines. This is what I want to be saying to my peers. It's like, at what point are we bowing down and showing fear of man when it comes to these guidelines? Because they're the beast system's rules. They're the beast system's, you know, way of doing things. Why are we abiding by that? What did the Apostle Peter say after he got hiding, or when he got his strikes? We must obey God, not man. You know, Isaiah 2:22. Stop trusting in man. Of what account is he who has but breath in his nostrils? Why are we doing this? Why hasn't the church done that? What happens if we did that through the COVID years? We ain't shutting our churches. And we're going to be writing out, you know, sort of like exemption forms for our congregations. They didn't. They rolled over and they bent over. That's really awful because we failed as a church. But there were some really brave people out there. I'm not implying that to ourselves, but didn't roll over. They took the strikes and said, yeah, fair enough. What happens if the disciples didn't do that? And they was like, oh, I've got, you know, some guards smashed me on the face and that's it now. I'm not doing this anymore. What happened if they cried off and they just walked away? And this is what I find disconcerting, is that we have to report the news faithfully. If God shows you something, can I encourage my brothers and my sisters to speak up about it? I know that they go to some of the sources that I go to. And why are we being avoidant? Is it because we want to keep what we've built up so much? We had that. We had about 12,000 at one point. But we still kept on saying what we said, because that wasn't the importance. The truth was far more important, because people were being deceived. People were dying. They were getting maimed and injured through these vaccines. And we spoke up about it. So no, I'm not concerned if they take this down. They take that down and we will build up another one. And that's what we're supposed to do. If you have that in your life and you get knocked down, what do? Do you stay down? Do you throw in the towel, or do you pick yourself back up? What does the Bible say? Suffering produces perseverance, perseverance character, and character hope. And we have suffered and we have persevered. And because of that, our resolve and our will as a channel here, at least, is set. I'm not going to stop speaking. Even if they, you know, took us down to having less than 10 people, we'll still carry on. They did the same thing over in Rumble for the last year by giving us less than 50. In actual fact, we're getting more views here than we've had for the last year and a half there. And then I saw all my colleagues and my peers literally lapping me when we were on Telegram, and we weren't ever able to get over 1,600 subscribers, despite the enormity and the quality of our work, because that's the nature of the beast. And that's part of what our heart here is as a channel, is that we want to be leading by example. And we want to be saying, no, it's not okay for you to be poisoning. It's not okay for you to be doing these things. And the church is going to be vocal in this matter, in this regard. Forget how that makes, I'm not trying to be whatever with you guys. That's my heart. And I've evidenced that. And that's part of the way that the Lord has shaped me through my adversity in my life. Yeah. And I'll disclose, to give him the glory, to give him the honor. You know, 10 foster families, 3 children's homes in 18 years, sexually abused several times. Okay, absolute broken man I was. And the Lord trained me and he healed me and restored me. And all glory to him, and set me free from my addictions of the past. And used me. And that was my training ground in adversity, in heartache, in heartbreak. So that when I got to here, I wouldn't give up. And I've never once thought of that. And you can ask any of our, I've never once thought, I'm just going to let it all go. I'm done with this. I've fought the good fight, Lord. I've run the race. No. There is more to do. That's why I don't make videos about other stuff. I make what God tells me to make every morning. Lord, what do you want me to do? So don't think I'd like to do some things and get like a nice few 10, 20, 30,000, views on something and feel successful as a man, or feel that the work of my hands are fruitful and productive. But no, it's not about that, because that's not what God is not looking at for me. He's saying, Dan, I want you to speak, whether they listen or they don't. It's on them. That's a watchman's job. You report. And if you don't report, all right, then it's on you. But if you do and they don't listen, that's on them. That's my remit. So it's not how, whatever. I can't stand cowardice. Even if you get a beating, even if you lose or you get put to the floor, get up and stand up and try again. You don't, tell a child when they're learning to walk, oh, well, never mind, you tried that once, or if you've tried that a few times, don't bother. No, you encourage them and you love them and you say, come on, you can do this, like the Lord does with me. He encourages us to continue to be faithful in report. What would Jesus say? What would Jesus do? How would he act? How would he respond? Would he not be turning over tables? Was he not very clear and very precise with some people when he was saying about their lives or what it was really going on in it? Did not Jesus speak about these things? Is that not what we should be modeling, and whom we should not be modeling, but him and the example set by him? That he was prepared to lay his life down. He was prepared to suffer. He was prepared to go without, to experience loss. The greatest example of all. And that's whom we follow. So when I'm giving my peers a bit of a hard time for being avoidant and being cowards, that many of them are, I'm having a locker room mentality with them, saying, come on, man, we've got however long we've got left. Let's fight. And let's put in the best show that we can. We can do this, guys. Yeah, because I'm like Joshua and Caleb in my mentality. Come on, man, we can take them. And it's because the church has remained so silent on so many issues that I believe that the beast system has become more emboldened and more braver in doing this. So I don't take any delight in being critical in that way, and I'm searching my heart every single time. But I'm like with the Lord, I'm like, Lord, you know me. I can't overlook any injustice. I can't overlook it. That includes my own life and my own walk. That includes my own sort of like, you know, family and everything. I can't do that. It's not in my nature. Okay, I wasn't raised like that. Was raised to speak up and defend. And isn't that what Jesus says? Defend the fatherless, defend the orphan, defend the widow, defend those and speak up and speak out for them. Is that not what we're supposed to be doing here? If I really say that I love you, which I do, then I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to speak up about those things that I see. And if I think that's really important, I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to be avoidant of that for my own personal gain, so that I get fruit, I get bowls, I get popularity, or I then get ended up invited onto someone else's channel as if I'm some panelled expert all of a sudden. No, not at all. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to fight with everything I can and let God have all of the glory, all of the praise, all of the honor, all of our worship, because he deserves all that we can give because of all that he is and has done for us and what he has done for me. So when I stand before him one day, there will be times, the questions maybe, well, I might have to look down in my shame because of those things. But I tell you one thing I will never, ever be doing, and I won't ever lose eye contact with him, is when he speaks about ministry. No, Lord, we fought the good fight. We run the race. We didn't give in. We didn't surrender. We didn't turn away. We didn't stand down to this evil that we saw. And we fought back, Lord. And yeah, we had our asses handed to us every single day. But that didn't matter none, because you told us to get up and continue. And that's what we do. And that's what this team has done here. Sherry also and others could have like left and thought, you know what, I've had enough. You know, I'll go and hang out with somebody else's channel that's maybe doesn't get half as much aggro. And we have to build all over again and build all over again. But no, they haven't. They've shown real loyalty and real commitment. And to me, just me in my house, I'm commitment over love any day. Mike saying, hi, Mike. Enough. I don't want to be blown smoke up my own ass, man. But we're not ashamed of our fight here. That's all I'll say. End of. The gates of hell shall not prevail. Absolutely. The monstrosity of this individual, what he ends up doing to humanity. Then you get him with, like, you know, Klaus Schwab and talking about, you know, his new role and everything. You think, well, now we know what that was all about, don't we? Killing us all off. Exactly. Onward, Christian soldiers. Absolutely. There are some, you know, that can go in and mediate. You know, I've been known to be a mediator, you know, but there's other times when you have to send someone in when that's failed. That's just who we be. Yeah, Jesus, don't trouble over once saved, always saved. Salvation is resurrection from death. In resurrection, we are born again in Christ, immortal. Once we're immortal, then no, we can't lose our mortality. No, exactly. I just don't like the term OSAS. I find it really arrogant. Once saved, always saved. It's just really cocky. I don't like that. Whereas eternal security, yeah, as it's so recorded. But I don't like that. It's too catchphrasy. And we've already got enough, in my opinion, in the Watchman community that is catchphrasy, gimmicky, childish almost. Mike's saying here, we are on the final waves before the rescue, so hang on and look up. Absolutely, we are. And that's it. Leave it out on the field. Leave it all where it is, raw and unedited. What would you prefer? Me to come here and just wear some mask and just tell you whatever, not engage, not be open, not be honest, not be congruent? That's what the enemy does. I don't want to be adopting his traits. What was the example left by the Lord Jesus? Absolutely. Nancy saying, I believe watching, waiting, and worshipping Jesus is worthy. Absolutely, of all of that. And now watching, Nancy, exactly. When it's tiresome and it's boring sometimes, we go around it, getting headache and face ache and everything of that sort. It's really exhausting. That's why the Lord gives a crown for watching, because he knows how difficult that is with everything that gets set around and against us. And the waiting part of it. Who likes waiting, especially in today's society where everything's so instantaneous and the immediacy of the here and now? And the worshipping, yes, absolutely, worshipping him in every single way. That don't just mean singing. That means being here now, serving and worshipping when we're having fellowship in other ways. It's also when we're having time with the Lord in his word. And the Lord Jesus is worthy of absolutely everything. For all that he has done for me, absolutely. What? I can't sit down here and be a bit brave from a distance on social media after he's had all of what he did for me. Wow, I ain't having that one. Yeah. Is it Lels? Forgive me. Didn't know Netanyahu was evil. Yeah, he is. Okay, this is the guy that turned the beautiful nation of Israel into a Pfizer laboratory. All of this technology that's being used in the beast system is coming and being made from Israel. And he's the one who turns off Iron Domes so that his own people can be struck and hit so that he can go out and have his expansionist mentality. No, he's not a nice guy, Netanyahu, at all. And then there is evidence, and please, go over to our, sort of like Rumble channel around, him sending flagships from the IDF on his own people as well on October the 7th. So yeah, he is really flipping evil. Mian saying, may I add a few channels I watch? Okay. Yeah, you just did. Yeah, and this is it. Jesus is coming. I know it's hard to be in this world, but many opportunities to share this wonderful name. And this is it. This is what we're saying, isn't it? It's our last opportunity. It's our last push. It's our last, come on, we can do this moment. It's our last moment to be collective. We're meant to be one. It's like a team or whatever. Why have we got so many hand solos going on? Why aren't we singing from the same song sheet? Yeah, because our enemy is all being of one mind and all being of one purpose, Revelation 17:13. But we can't be yet, can we? We've got too much division. We've got too many egos. And I'll include that to myself. I've got a big ego too. Bless you, Mian. Sleep well. Hi there, Cher. Bless you. Bless all that are here. Amen. And all that come in after, you and yours. Yeah, I still like beef. Absolutely. My flesh. Yeah, I don't think people would. Mian, actually. Mian saying, God bless all. Going to share Dan's channel to the ones I mentioned above. I'm sure people would love to hear Dan. No, not really. No, not really. No, because I know I'm not easy. I'm rough and ready. That's why I like being behind the camera. Because if I come out of a bit of attitude or whatever, then I can listen back to it when I'm making a video and say, no, I don't want to be putting that. And I can go back and I can edit it and I can do it again as if you never knew. But by being here and being open and being vulnerable, that's also part of what that means. There's no power dynamic in that way. But no, not many people like us. And I doubt they really would, by the amount of hard time that I seem to give many of them for being so avoidant on some of that. Turn around back about Netanyahu, then yeah, I do get upset with some that, those that bless Israel will be blessed. It'll be like, well, surely, Lord, I should be cheated and saying, well, I'd quite like to be blessed and not so targeted in my own life. So maybe I should go and report on Israel, the low bearing fruit that she is. God bless her forever and a day. But it's just like, I get really upset with that, because it's just like, well, okay, are you speaking about, you know, Israel being the pedophile capital of the world and everything else that's going on with the angelical rings and, you know, the sex trafficking and everything? Are you really looking at Israel? That's why people don't like me. That's fine. I'm not here to be liked. I'm just here to be loud and mouthy. Less bees and bugs. Yeah. Yeah, we need to get this truth out, because we're dealing and we're up against the father of lies that wants to conceal and manipulate. This is my prayer on my walks. I'm like, Lord, what would have happened if there was, like, it was all fair game and it was even Stevens, all right, where people could like share openly, here you go, here's what's in the COVID vaccine. What would have happened then? What would have happened without all of this, you know, mainstream media, you know, sort of like running the interference? What happens if it was all fair and people were able to see for themselves? And it's because they don't operate like that, and that they will literally turn around and use words against us like fact checking and disinformation and misinformation. It's like, no, it's the truth. You're trying to turn around and say what is a lie is truth and truth is a lie. What is bitter and sweet and what is sweet is bitter. And I ain't buying it, son. You know? Yeah, Cher saying I haven't seen honeybees all season. Yeah, because they're dying off. They're great pollinators. Yeah, politicians are almost useless. They're the criminals. Too much bureaucracy. Exactly. Over here in the UK, we've got, you know, Brits literally crying out, screaming out for a general election, because we want Starmer the Nazi Fabian out. We want him out. But you have to have 100,000 signatures to get that discussion had. And when you've got like 3.5 million working on 4, and they won't even discuss it, they'll just send a reply. No, sorry, it's not happening. That's it. They won't even do what democracy says. And you've got an illegitimate, you know, Muslim loving king as well. Oh, it's going to be so hard. I hope that we get immortal and incorruptible before we even go on the clouds, because otherwise I am going to be saying some few choice words on my way up. Do you know what I mean? Number love. Yeah. Our hope is in the King, and our glory is coming. Jesus is our sufficiency. He has given us everything we need for life and godliness. He has given us everything. The Holy Spirit who lives, who dwells within us, who comforts us, leads and directs. How beautiful he is to have that presence in and around. And I love being in his presence. Love being in that space when I can say, Lord, I've done that. I've had my few rounds, Lord. You know, and you sort of like, you know, put a bit of a nice pack on your head. Yeah, absolutely. Stephen saying our citizenship is in heaven. We are temporary dwellers here, and that's why we don't fit around everything else. We know that's just really harsh as well, isn't it? It's like, come on, Lord, you didn't help us out, did you? You know, you put eternity into our hearts. How can we not therefore also be homesick, living out of a spiritual suitcase, as we say here as well? It's not easy, but it's always going to be worth it now. Come on. It's going to be so worth it to see him, you know, and this brother Joshua saying that he saw the Lord Jesus. I was just like, really? And I've been praying for like years. Really? And this boy had like a few times. I ain't seen an angel for nothing. Do you know what I mean? And I was really jealous in a really holy way. I think it was a holy way. Yeah. I was like, yeah, Lord, I really would have loved that for me personally. I didn't get any of that. It's really harsh. But, you know, to be able to see the Lord, you know, and to be able to see his face, hear his voice, to literally be at his feet and at his arms, you know, how magnificent that's going to be, and the great joy that he will have introducing us to the Father, introducing us to heaven, giving us maybe some orientation and our audience moment with him. As much as I'm absolutely crap in that audience, do you know what I mean? Bringing out my works. Well, that was quick. Yeah, I'll just go. You know, but that's going to be the joy of it. It's being in his house, and no more of this, no more sin, no more death, no more corruption, no more compromise. You know, no more pain, no more misery, no more tears. Yeah. Hi there, Melissa. Good to see you. Good morning, Melissa Harper. You got a window? Open it. That's right. Okay, you're talking about bugs now. Have you seen Fun with? Yes, I have seen that movie. I'm a movie geek. I tell you. When I was at uni, it was really harsh because I was like with loads of film and drama students, and I was like studying Marx and sociology and all that crap, and I was doing really boring essays, you know. And then they come in because they knew that I was a real movie fan, and they'd like be, oh, Dan, who directed this, and who starred in that, and who did this. And it was just like, and they'd be going off to London and watching really great theatre shows, or they'd be extras on the Gladiator movie. Do you know what I mean? In the woods with like Russell Crowe and that battle. And they're like coming back. And it's like, oh man, you should have seen the pyrotechnics. And I'm here just like typing out this nonsense. I'm like, really? But some of the counselling interventions, believe you me, I've been using them on myself so that I'm not sort of like, you know, did you see the size of that chicken? Okay. All right, let's finish up with some gospel messages because I don't want to be taking any more of your time or your day. Okay, I would like us to sort of like, you know, be very, very mindful that time is short as well, guys. So yes, we can be more emboldened, we can be braver. But what's also important for us is to be able to be sort of like sharing the gospel, sharing the love of the Lord with those that are in and amongst us. So my pleasure to be able to read 1 Corinthians 15:1. Now I remind you, brothers, of the gospel I preached to you, which you have received, in which you stand, and by which you are being saved, if you hold fast to the word I preached to you, unless you believed in vain. For I delivered to you as of first importance what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the scriptures. Amen. John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. Romans 1:16, boldness for us as we speak out the truth. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith. As it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. And Romans 10:9, because if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the heart one believes and is justified, and with the mouth one confesses and is saved. For the scripture says, everyone who believes in him will not be put to shame. For there is no distinction between Jew and Greek, for the same Lord is Lord of all, bestowing his riches on all who call on him. For everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. That's it, calling on the name of the Lord. Going from unbelief to belief, metanoia, changing your mind. Galatians 3:8, and the scriptures, foreseeing that God would justify the Gentiles by faith, preached the gospel beforehand to Abraham, saying, in you shall all the nations be blessed. So then, those who are of faith are blessed along with Abraham, the man of faith. Ephesians 2:8-9, not works. For by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not your own doing. It is the gift of God, not a result of works, so that no one may boast. And what's also important is that we are saved for good works. Some of you, my brothers and sisters, have been very complimentary towards me with your messaging. But this needs to be redirected to the Lord. As we read, you know, you put a lamp on its stand so it gives light to everyone in the house. Therefore, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and do what then now? Praise your Father who is in heaven. Mark 1:14, and now after John was arrested, Jesus came into Galilee, proclaiming the gospel of God and saying, the time is fulfilled and the kingdom of God is at hand. Repent and believe in the gospel. Acts 2:38. Baptism isn't a dirty word, by the way. And Peter said to them, repent and be baptized, every one of you, in the name of Jesus Christ, for the forgiveness of your sins, and you will receive the gift of the Holy Spirit. Isaiah 55. Seek the Lord while he may be found. Call upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. Let him return to the Lord, that he may have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon. This is the bit that is really beautiful for us, especially the nation of Israel, as we've been speaking about today, how sad it is that they couldn't see through Isaiah 53:4. Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed. And the mercy of God, last and not least, Romans 5:8. But God showed his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Is that not what we were looking for as well? In the Father's, compassion still for him to turn around to his son and say, go get your bride, go get her. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Cher. Thank you, each, every one of you, for the pleasure of your company. May the Lord bless and keep you ever so richly, you and your families. Okay, I'll put the article in the description box for you with a thumbnail. And then in about 10-15 minutes, I'll put together a particular post, which will just amplify what it is that we've been covering today and exposing. That the chemtrails task force is saying Bill Gates's sun dimming experiment is reducing lifespans by 20 years. All right, guys, God bless each and every one of you. None but love.